So stupid. now. Hello, everyone.
Okay, that looks good.
You're in, and Denise kind of looks like an R. We're practicing cursive in here. It's not going great. Like, I can read it enough to where I know what it's supposed to be.
I do my own.
Oh, that looks beautiful.
I do my A's.
Yeah, I think I sometimes do. I actually do G's differently than it's supposed to be, just because I do it kind of more like a print G, just with like a little flair to it. But then I like connect it. Hang on, guys. This is not important at all, but
I'm curious. I got a lot of loops in my hair. My handwriting changes like every 2 seconds, especially when I do cursive. I used to hate them. I hate doing K's.
oh yeah,
I love doing F's though, because I like do the loop.
yeah, it is nice. I like cursive. Okay, folks. We are going to talk about Beloved today,
That's how it looks.
but
That's the last.
what? Wait, okay, that one's the best so far. I think we can. There's still room for improvement, but we can do it. We'll work on it after the AP exam at some point. The AP exam is next week.
Ew.
I know.
Wait, there's a whole class here?
Mhm.
You got to sit in here and phone like an hour or so?
I won't be in here.
Oh, thank God.
I would guess it'll probably be in one of the 2 empty rooms down there. Yeah, it's next Wednesday, so y'all be here on Wednesday. And Miss Cokel will be the one proctoring it. I'm not allowed to proctor it. We're never allowed to proctor classes for our tests for our own classes.
What?
It's against law. Yeah.
Why?
My guess is because there'll be too much temptation either for you guys to ask questions or for us to help. And obviously that's illegal. Helping is illegal. Yeah, like I have never proctored an English exam and I can't. I guess it's kind of nice. I think I've mostly done math exams, and if kids ask me anything, I'm like, I can't help you, and even if I could, you wouldn't want me to, because I don't know anything about math. Like I cannot help you. Testing has so many rules and things that are just wild.
Like, when I was younger, when I was in the testing, my teachers would like look over my book and then be like, do it again. Like,
Oh yeah, that's not okay. That's not okay to do. In fact, we just went through this training yesterday for proctoring a test, and they were like, is this thing okay to do? Is that thing okay to do? And one of them was like telling a kid, go back and try number 3 again, or even like, you missed number 3, that's too specific. Like, if anything, you just have to be like, make sure to look over your work and make sure you did every question. It has to be very vague.
when I was younger, I used to make really good tests. I'm not super good now, but when I was younger, I was.
Yeah.
But I would finish so early, so my teachers would be like, why don't you look back over it? And I'm like, no, I'm good.
I'm confident. I feel good. Leave me alone about it. On Monday, Miss Cokel is going to come in here, and there's like some preliminary setup that you guys have to do. And those of you who are virtual should also be able to do it perfectly fine. So make sure that you're here on Monday, because that's very important to get that set up, because you have to do it in order to take the test on Wednesday.
Oh, well, NPC put it on my, but the thing I'm a big one
maybe like send Mike a thing that says that, because I don't know what to do about anything. Ever. I don't know anything about this app, and I sort of feel like if anything, they should train the teachers on it, because it's not like Miss Kokel or Mike is in here every day to help with it in case we do have problems. I'm gonna come over here and sit close to y'all for a few. Sorry, what was that? Why did you almost have a heart attack? Okay. I mean, I don't think it's not normal. Is it just because they're growing up so fast? All right, I get that. I can't believe my seniors are graduating.
It's so sad.
It's so sad.
I tried it out this morning. And I had to hold back tears on the.
Oh, oh, it's upsetting.
Dominic was like, "Will you focus on this at me at Tiger?" That's not the same. They're expensive.
Are they? One of these days I'm going to go because I've had a gift card for ages.
Sometimes I go up there.
Yeah.
He'll like slip his card. And I'm like, "Oh, so sweet."
That's,
Come back again.
oh my gosh, that's so nice. Hmm.
He did, like, he wrote this book on how.
I have read it.
And he gives a lot of advice that he doesn't take.
That's
So funny to
pretty
call him
standard.
out on it. He's like, don't be-
Mm,
And I was like,
okay.
and I told him, he was also like a two-time battle family.
That's true. Like there was no competition last year. But it like there wasn't a competition. That's your opinion. He's insane. He's an insane person. I love him, but what a character. Okay, so we're going to talk about Beloved a little bit. And just as a reminder, let me make sure that I'm in the correct classroom because I'm not. Classroom, Canvas, whatever it is. Y'all should have read through page 99 today. And next week, our schedule is going to start being different and like less structured because I'm obviously like not going to make you write an essay the day of your test. That would be insane. And so mean. After you've already written 3 essays, come in and write one for me. Not gonna do that. But oh, what? Yeah. No, well, yeah, I mean, I get that. The reading schedule is in your announcement section and has been for a while. So up until now, it's been like Tuesday, read to this, Tuesday, read to this. This time is gonna be Thursday. You've got a couple extra days to read. And actually like less to read, I would say. Yeah, less to read. You only have to finish part 2, which is gonna be 19 pages. So not as long as y'all have been. And then for the next week, you'll finish the book, which is great. So no more Toni Morrison Tuesdays, but we are still working on Beloved. We will finish out this week as normal, which our final practice essay will be tomorrow. It's an argumentative essay. We'll have an imagery exercise on Thursday, and then you can do some of your podcast work. And then Friday, I'm just going to give you guys some stuff that could potentially help you on the test. And then Monday, Miss Coke will be in if we have time. I don't know how long her thing will take. So I have a video for us to watch if she doesn't take up the whole time. And Tuesday we'll just do like some review games and then let you work on your podcast or whatevs. So I also went ahead, in case this freaked anybody else out, James Canning came into my class earlier and was like, Miss McClellan, you almost gave me a heart attack. I was like, what did I do? I didn't even see you today. And he said, I looked at Power School and there were like 9 assignments without grades on them. And that's true. No, it's nothing to be concerned about. It's nothing to be concerned about. I just went ahead and put in all the assignments that you'll have for the rest of the year. I think that was an exaggeration. I don't think anyone is going to have 9 more. You guys will have. Oh yeah, yeah. We're getting. You guys are only going to have 6 more, actually. Oh, sorry to hear that. I didn't mean to distress you so much. Okay. What else? Yeah, you're only gonna have 9 more assignments. Only one of those is a daily grade. So all the other ones are quite important, especially if you're someone who has been not turning in essays or not doing other stuff. Just kind of like let you guys know what's coming down the turnpike. We will have a test for Beloved. Let me just make sure that this is all on here because some stuff got pushed to like out of Q4. Okay, but not on this one. And also like I'm not including your participation grade in this, but you'll have 2 project grades, one of which is your podcast grade, one of the other of which you have not heard about yet. We'll watch a movie in here and do like a short written thing, but I'm going to use that as a quiz grade because we haven't had any quizzes in Q4. And then we'll have also a test on Beloved. And that's it. You're what? I don't know what you're saying. Oh, probably. Probably. In fact, there'll be like one day towards the end of the year that I won't be here because it's graduation day and I'll be setting up and doing rehearsal and everything else. And probably, I probably won't cry until that night. I haven't cried about it at all yet, except for I got a little bit choked up because do you remember Hayden? He's going to get to come and like participate in it. And one of our other teachers never met him, somebody who's new this year. And so I was just like explaining about like how he has been here for so long and like had to leave because his parents moved. And I was like, he was such a like a problem when he was in 7th grade and even 8th grade. And he's just come so far and now he's so great. And I was like, oh my God, why am I getting emotional? Yeah. Yeah. I know. He's the best. I don't know how we're going to survive without him. He does a lot. Okay. Let's talk about Beloved. So we didn't actually talk about Beloved last week, and I'm not going to go into all the stuff about it, but like from the last section that we read. But the big thing, of course, is that we finally found out what Seth did to get in prison and what happened to her baby, because it is the same thing Huh? She killed it. She killed her baby. She slit her baby's throat. And not because she is a horrible mother or anything, but because 28 days after she became free, after she made it to Cincinnati and, lived with baby Suggs and her whole family, school teacher and the nephews came and found them. And she rushed with all of her kids into the little shed out back, and she was going to kill all 4 of her kids because she, in her opinion, killing her kids would be a preferable fate to having them live the life that she lived at Sweet Home. And I think that's up for debate. I don't think we all would probably do that, but I think it's also sort of justifiable if you see all the things that she went through, all the physical, emotional, sexual abuse that she endured when she was at Sweet Home. Of course, she would not want to put her kids through that. And it would be better, in her opinion, to kill them and rob them of a life than for them to have that life. It's harsh. It's very harsh. And, that's why Paul D says, your love is too thick. That's, if that's the way you show love for your kid, that's pretty messed up. And he leaves, at least for a bit. He's gone in the moment. It's not that we don't hear anything else from him. We do. But the section that you guys read for this week starts doing some interesting structural stuff. It starts being directly from Seth's point of view. So we change from a third person narrator to a first person narrator. And she's addressing Beloved. Sometimes it seems like she's addressing the woman in her house, and sometimes it seems like she's addressing the baby that she killed. But this is also when she starts kind of believing it, they're one and the same person. So that's the first interesting, well, it's not the first interesting structural thing that happens in this book. There's been so much like non-linear timelines and, flashbacks and different points of view and stuff. But this is the first like significant chunk. And we're going to start reading the next section today. And that's where things get really weird structurally. But a couple of things that I just wanted to like hit on their importance from this last section that you guys read. First of all, we did talk maybe a couple weeks ago about the relationship between Setha and the town, and how she always is sort of like set apart from everyone else. And this is a small town. It's the kind of town where everybody knows each other. Stamp Pate even says that like he hasn't knocked on a door in years. He just walks into people's houses because everybody knows everybody. But Setha is kind of apart from that. And probably the main reason why she is such an outsider is because, yeah, everybody knows that she killed her kid and that she went to jail for it. And that's definitely worth speculating about. But also her attitude when she killed her one kid, was really off-putting to a lot of people, because the sheriff came and took her away, and she just kind of like left with her head held high, like she was proud of what she'd done. And I think to a certain degree she was. I mean, obviously she was tormented by the fact that she murdered her own baby, but she knew why she did it. And because she had this solid reason, she felt like she could walk out of there with her head held high. And people just thought, well, she's too big for her britches. Like, if you can't show a little humility in a moment like that, then you're not the kind of person that we want to associate with. So there's really this divide between her and the rest of the town. But also, like, no one really considers her feelings about any of it. And I think we see that a lot during the section where we're really seeing Stamp Pate's point of view, because he's the one who told Paul D and showed him the newspaper clipping about when she had killed her kid. And the thing is, she only had 28 days of freedom before being hauled off to prison. But during those 28 days, everything was great for her. She was really a part of things. She was a part of this community. She had a great family. She was happy living with baby Suggs and with her 4 kids and really experiencing freedom for the first time. And it was so short-lived. But she really was a part of that community. And then when everything happened, the misery, as they call it, which I kind of love, just like, I don't know, it's so ominous, the misery. When the misery happened, everybody kind of turned on her and didn't even really think about her feelings about any of it. And Stamp Pate is kind of thinking about that for the first time and feeling like maybe he shouldn't have told Paul D about it. And maybe he should have been a little bit more respectful of Setha, because she's not just some crazy woman who hauled off and murdered her kid. There was a reason behind it, and really there was love behind it, which is, you know, totally at odds with how we think about love, but she was doing it out of love. But Stamp Pate does just have,
attention teachers tonight with Quantum Johnson Brown for dismissal, please.
never heard of him. She, what? He's probably like in 6th grade or something. I don't know. Oh, okay. He's in 9th grade. How do I not know this child? I'll have to look him up on my yearbook website. Let's see if I can. I mean, so many people didn't have photos this year, so who knows? But Stamp Pate goes up to apologize to Setha because he is kind of feeling bad that he spilled the beans. And he goes to knock on her door and stops because, number one, like I said, he hasn't knocked on a door in a long time. He just walks into people's houses, but he feels this coldness from her house, which, you know, is kind of understandable given that she's been at odds with the rest of the community for so long. But also he looks in the window and they're there. Everybody's home. They're just ignoring him. And it's not to be mean, but he watches them from the window for a few minutes, and Setha and Denver and Beloved are just like so wrapped up in each other that they don't even notice that someone is knocking. And that's one of the most prevalent things to take away from this section, is that they're just so consumed with each other and with this little family unit that they have, that nothing else matters. And Setha talks about how every 18 to 20 years, she got to experience a short-lived glory in the process of a life that is otherwise pretty miserable. And, you know, 18 to 20 years before this, it was the 28 days she got to live in freedom with her family. And now it's this time she has with Beloved, and it clicks. They talk about this click, and it's really interesting the way that they describe it when she kind of becomes aware that Beloved is her daughter in some form or another. Because when she feels that click, it's like, it's not even that it's new information, but she like becomes aware of her own awareness. Like, she always knew that this was her daughter, but now she's conscious that she knew that. And one of the things that kind of forces that click is, and this is creepy actually, is that Setha made up this song, and the only people who know it are her and her kids, and Beloved starts singing it. And she's like, oh, that's my daughter. So she's very like wrapped up. They're very wrapped up in the relationship. And Setha comes to the realization that Beloved isn't mad at her. And she sort of always felt like if she ever got the chance to talk to her daughter again, that she would be mad, because obviously if your parent murdered you, you've got something, you're going to have something against them. But Beloved doesn't seem to. Beloved just wants to be there with Setha. And because of that, Setha's like, all right, well, if she's not mad, then things are going to be good from here on out. This is not a happy story. So spoiler alert, things are not going to work out perfectly for them from here on out. And just a couple other things before we start reading this section, because we're actually getting further It's getting later than I thought it was. We learn a lot more about baby Suggs in this section. And I really love her because she's sort of a secondary character, but she's very fleshed out. And they talk about what happened with her after the misery. And she had this real like crisis of faith sort of after Seth had killed the baby. She had been more or less a preacher. It was honestly, the way they describe it, sort of like more like a motivational speaker, but she would like gather people in the clearing. She would gather all of her community, and they would go to the clearing and like listen to her sort of preach on Sundays. But after Beloved is killed, she just really has a crisis of faith because she says that essentially nothing she did mattered. Like the way she was living before, trying to be kind and generous and help others, none of that mattered because school teacher and his nephews came back anyway, and they came to her house, and like whatever you do, you can't prevent that from happening. And so she's just sort of like, well, what's it all for? Which is a legitimate question. And then we learned early on, like maybe even page 1 of this book, that she was, before she died, she was very fixated on colors. Like she was laying in bed and would say like, bring me a little bit of blue. And they'd bring her like a flower or a patch of something. And, that's interesting, but it's not until now that we learn that that's really because colors can't hurt you. And that's the one thing that she can kind of cling to that doesn't have any kind of like negative association. It's very sad. And the other sort of sad and upsetting thing is that we revisit school teacher and his nephews. There's this scene where Seth is asking Mrs. Garner what the word characteristics means. And she tells her, explains like qualities or traits or whatever. Why are you asking? And basically she said that school teacher was teaching his nephews by like choosing one slave and making sort of like a T-chart of both their human characteristics and their animal characteristics. Just so messed up and so disturbing. But I think it also definitely contributes to Seth's character a little bit, because right before Paul D leaves, he sort of accuses her of having some animalistic qualities as well. When he hears about her murdering Beloved, he says, you've got 2 feet, Seth, and not 4, meaning like you're a human, you're not an animal. Humans don't do this kind of thing. So there is definitely some interesting comparisons between her and animals, some of which are legitimate and some of which are just awful. Okay, so we're going to start reading the next section. And remember, between now and next Thursday, you guys are going to read through page 118. But we're going to start here. You guys got through page 99. So we're going to start. Yes, we're going to start on page 100. And y'all will remember, hopefully, last week we did some work with stream of consciousness, which was really interesting to read y'all's stream of consciousness stuff. It was definitely. I love doing stream of consciousness stuff with students because just so interesting to see what comes out of y'all. So the next several sections, I can't remember if it's 4 or 5, we won't get through. I doubt we'll get through all of them. Our stream of consciousness, but each different stream of consciousness section adopts somebody else's perspective. And in one, it kind of adopts multiple perspectives, and you don't really know who you're talking or like who's talking or whose perspective it is. So it's really interesting. The first section, you can tell from the first sentence that this is going to be from Seth's point of view. And I'm just going to go ahead and read through this section, or at least as far as I get, and then we can stop and talk about it before we move on to the next one. Beloved, she my daughter, she mine. See, she come back to me of her own free will, and I don't have to explain a thing. I didn't have time to explain before because it had to be done quick. She had to be safe, and I put her where she would be. She had to be safe, and I put her where she would be. But my love was tough and she back now. I knew she would be. Paul D ran her off, so she had no choice but to come back to me in the flesh. I bet you baby Suggs on the other side helped. I won't never let her go. I'll explain to her, even though I don't have to, why I did it, how if I hadn't killed her, she would have died, and that is something I could not bear to happen to her. When I explain it, she'll understand because she understands everything already. I'll tend to her as no mother ever tended a child, a daughter. Nobody will ever get my milk no more except my own children. I never had to give it to nobody else, and the one time I did, it was took from me. They held me down and took it, milk that belonged to my baby. Nan had to nurse white babies and me too because Mam was in the rice. The little white babies got it first, and I got what was left, or none. There was no nursing milk to call my own. I know what it is to be left without the milk that belongs to you. You have to fight and holler for it and have so little left. I'll tell beloved about that. She'll understand. She, my daughter, the one I managed to have milk for and to get it to her even after they stole it, after they handled me like I was the cow, no, the goat, back behind the stable because it was too nasty to stay in with the horses. But I wasn't too nasty to cook their food or take care of Mrs. Garner. I tended her like I would have tended my own mother if she needed me. If they had let her out of the rice field because I was the one she didn't throw away. I couldn't have done more for that woman than I would my own mam if she was to take sick and need me, and I'd have stayed with her till she got well or died. And I would have stayed after that, except Nan snatched me back before I could check for the sign. It was her all right, but for a long time I didn't believe it. I looked everywhere for that hat, stuttered after that, didn't stop till I saw Hallie. Oh, but that's all over now. I'm here, I lasted, and my girl came home. Now I can look at things again because she's here to see them too. After the shed, I stopped. Now in the morning when I light the fire, I mean to look out the window to see what the sun is doing to the day. Does it hit the pump handle first or the spigot? See if the grass is gray, green, or brown, or what. Now I know why baby Suggs pondered color her last years. She never had time to see, let alone enjoy it before. Took her a long time to finish with blue, then yellow, then green. She was well into pink when she died. I don't believe she wanted to get to red, and I understand why, because me and beloved outdid ourselves with it. Matter of fact, that and her pinkish headstone was the last color I recall. Now I'll be on the lookout. Think what spring will be for us. I'll plant carrots just so she can see them, and turnips. Have you ever seen one, baby? A prettier thing God never made. White and purple with a tender tail and a hard head. Feels good when you hold it in your hand and smells like the creek when it floods. Bitter but happy. We'll smell them together, beloved. Beloved. Because you mine and I have to show you these things and teach you what a mother should. Funny how you lose sight of some things and memory others. I never will forget that white girl's hands, Amy, but I forget the color of all that hair on her head. Eyes must have been gray though. Seems like I do remember that. Mrs. Garner's was light brown while she was well, got dark when she took sick. A strong woman used to be. And when she talks off her head, she'd say it. I used to be strong as a mule, Jenny. Call me Jenny when she was babbling, and I can bear witness to that. Tall and strong, the two of us on a cord of wood was as good as two men. Hurt her like the devil not to be able to raise her head off the pillow. Still can't figure why she thought she needed a school teacher, though. I wonder if she lasted like I did. Last time I saw her, she couldn't do nothing but cry, and I couldn't do a thing for her but wipe her face when I told her what they done to me. Somebody had to know it, hear it, somebody. Maybe she lasted. School teacher wouldn't treat her the way he treated me. First beating I took was the last. Nobody gonna keep me from my children. Hadn't been for me taking care of her, maybe I would have known what happened. Maybe Hallie was trying to get to me. I stood by her bed waiting for her to finish with the slop jar. When I got her back in the bed, she said she was cold, hot as blazes, and she wanted quilts. Said to shut the window. I told her no, she needed the cover. I needed the breeze. Long as those yellow curtains flapped, I was all right. Should have heeded her. Maybe what sounded like shots really was. Maybe I would have seen somebody or something. Maybe. Anyhow, I took my babies to the corn, Hallie or no. Jesus, when I heard that woman's rattle, she said, any more? I told her I didn't know. She said, I've been here all night. Can't wait. I tried to make her. She said, can't do it. Come on. Whew, not a man around. Boy scared. You asleep on my back. Denver sleep in my stomach. Felt like I was split in two. I told her to take you all. I had to go back in case. She just looked at me, said, woman, bit a piece of my tongue off when they opened my back. It was hanging by a shred. I didn't mean to. Clamped down on it, come right off. I thought, good God, I'm going to eat myself up. They dug a hole for my stomach so as not to hurt the baby. Denver don't like for me to talk about it. She hates anything about Sweet Home except how she was born. But you was there, and even if you're too young to remember it, I can tell it to you. The grape arbor. You remember that? I ran so fast. Flies beat me to you. I would have known right away who you was when the sun blotted out your face the way it did when I took you to the grape arbor. I would have known at once when my water broke. The minute I saw you sitting on the stump, it broke. And when I did see your face, it had more than a hint of what you would look like after all these years. I would have known who you were right away because the cup after cup of water you drank proved and connected to the fact that you dribbled clear spit on my face the day I got to 124. I would have known right off, but Paul D distracted me. Otherwise, I would have seen my fingernail prints right there on your forehead for all the world to see from when I held your head up out in the shed. And later on, when you asked me about the earrings I used to dangle for you to play with, I would have recognized you right off, except for Paul D. Seems to me he wanted you out from the beginning, but I wouldn't let him. What you think? And look how he ran when he found out about me and you in the shed. Too rough for him to listen to. Too thick, he said. My love was too thick. What he know about it? Who in the world is he willing to die for? Would he give his privates to a stranger in return for a carving? Some other way, he said. There must have been some other way. I let school teacher haul us away, I guess, to measure your behind before he tore it up. I have felt what it felt like, and nobody walking or stretched out is going to make you feel it too. Not you, not none of mine. When I tell you mine, I also mean I'm yours. I wouldn't draw breath without my children. I told baby Suggs that, and she got down on her knees to beg God's pardon for me. Still, it's so. My plan was to take us all to the other side where my own mam is. They stopped me from getting there, but they didn't stop you from getting here. Ha ha, you came right on back like a good girl, like a daughter, which is what I wanted to be and would have been if my mam had been able to get out of the rice long enough before they hanged her and let me be one. You know what? She'd had the bit so many times she smiled. When she wasn't smiling, she smiled, and I never saw her own smile. I wonder what they was doing when they was caught. Running, you think? No, not that, because she was my mam, and nobody's mam would run off and leave her daughter, would she? Would she now? Leave her in the yard with a one-armed woman? What? Even if she hadn't been able to suckle the daughter for more than a week or two and had to turn her over to another woman's tit that never had enough for all. They said it was the bit that made her smile when she didn't want to. Like the Saturday girls work in the slaughterhouse yard. When I came out of jail, I saw them plain. They came when the shift changed on Saturday, when the men got paid and worked behind the fences back of the outhouse. Some worked standing up, leaning on the tool house door. They gave some of their nickels and dimes to the foreman as they left, but by then their smiles was over. Some of them drank liquor to keep from feeling what they felt. Some didn't drink a drop, just beat it on over to Phelps to pay for what their children needed or their mammies, work in a pig yard. That has got to be something for a woman to do. And I got close to it myself when I got out of jail and bought, so to speak, your name. But the Bodwins got me the cooking job at Sawyer's and left me able to smile on my own like now when I think about you. But you know all that because you smart like everybody said, because when I got here, you was crawling already, trying to get up the stairs. Baby Suggs had them painted white so you could see your way to the top in the dark where the lamplight didn't reach. Lord, you love the stair steps. I got close to being a Saturday girl. I'd already worked a stonemason's shop. A step to the slaughterhouse would have been a short one. When I put that headstone
It's
up,
2:00.
thank you. I wanted to lay in there with you, put your head on my shoulder and keep you warm. And I would have if Bugler and Howard and Denver didn't need me, because my mind was homeless then. I couldn't lay down with you then. No matter how much I wanted to, I couldn't lay down nowhere in peace back then. Now I can. I can sleep like the drowned. Have mercy. She come back to me, my daughter, and she is mine. I love this chapter of stream of consciousness because, I mean, it's such a good example of stream of consciousness. She's not even addressing the same person the whole time. She starts out just kind of like, it's almost like it's a soliloquy or something, like she's just talking. And then in the middle of it, she starts addressing beloved and keeps addressing her until the very end. But she goes through a lot of different things. She like, it's like her brain is just kind of, just making connections along the way. And, you know, she starts talking about when she came back. She talked about when she killed her baby and then how she should have known that it was actually beloved. She talks about her time at Sweet Home. And it is sort of like, I think if you just listen to someone tell a story, like without interrupting, it's sort of like this, like they just kind of make connections as they go. Let me see how long this next section is. I'd love to get through this next section, but I doubt we will because sort of long and the bell is ringing early these days. Okay, I could probably read for like 4 or 5 minutes. But obviously this section is from Denver's point of view. It says, beloved is my sister. So this is interesting. This is really the first time that we have heard extensively from Denver, and really tells us a lot about her mindset through this whole thing. Beloved is my sister. I swallowed her blood right along with my mother's milk. The first thing I heard after not hearing anything was the sound of her crawling up the steps. Because remember, she was deaf for a while. She was my secret company until Paul D came. He threw her out. Ever since I was little, she was my company, and she helped me wait for my daddy. Me and her waited for him. I love my mother, but I know she killed one of her own daughters, and tender as she is with me, I'm scared of her because of it. She missed killing my brothers, and they knew it. They told me die witch stories to show me the way to do it if I ever needed to. Maybe it was getting that close to dying made them want to fight the war. That's what they told me they were going to do. I guess they'd rather be around killing men than killing women, and there sure is something in her that makes it all right to kill her own. All the time, I'm afraid the thing that happened that made it all right for my mother to kill my sister could happen again. I don't know what it is. I don't know who it is, but maybe there's something else terrible enough to make her do it again. I need to know what that thing might be, but I don't want to. Whatever it is, it comes from outside this house and outside the yard, and it can come right on in the yard if it wants to. So I never leave this house, and I'll watch over the yard so it can't happen again, and my mother won't have to kill me too. It's very sad. Not since Miss Lady Jones' house have I left 124 by myself. Never. The only other times, 2 times in all, I was with my mother. Once to see Grandma Baby put down next to Beloved. She's my sister. The other time Paul D went too, and when we came back, I thought the house would still be empty from when he threw my sister's ghost out. But no. When I came back to 124, there she was, Beloved, waiting for me. Tired from her long journey back, ready to be taken care of, ready for me to protect her. This time I have to keep my mother away from her. That's hard, but I have to. It's all on me. I've seen my mother in a dark place with scratching noises, a smell coming from her dress. I've been with her where something little watched us from the corners and touched. Sometimes they touched. I didn't remember it for a long time until Nelson Lord made me. I asked her if it was true, but couldn't hear what she said. And there was no point in going back to Lady Jones if you couldn't hear what anybody said. So quiet. Made me have to read faces and learn how to figure out what people were thinking. So I didn't need to hear what they said. That's how come me and Beloved could play together. Not talking, on the porch, by the creek, in the secret house. It's all on me now, but she can count on me. I thought she was trying to kill her that day in the clearing. Kill her back. But then she kissed her neck, and I have to warn her about that. Don't love her too much. Don't. Maybe it's still in her, the thing that makes it all right to kill her children. I have to tell her. I have to protect her. I'm going to stop reading there. And we do still have just a few minutes left, but I just want to like scroll up a little bit. So this section is all from Denver's point of view. This next section that starts on 105 is some of that is what one of the examples that I had in the stream of consciousness presentation last week. And this is all Beloved's point of view. And it is very weird and disjointed and sometimes feels like maybe she is a ghost or like has been dead or something. It's definitely very strange. And then the last section starts on 107 and it's sort of 2 sections. Maybe that first point of view is from, or that first little paragraph is from Beloved's point of view, but then it starts looking like a poem. It's like a line upon line upon line. And sometimes some of the lines are from Seth's point of view, some of the lines are from Denver's point of view, some are from Beloved's, and then they kind of meld together to the point where you're like, who is actually talking? And it's kind of hard to determine. So y'all are reading through 118 for next time, for next Thursday. So you've got a little bit more time this week. And tomorrow is our last practice essay. So come in here ready to write. It's going to be good. And you virtual folks, I will see y'all tomorrow.